Hello everyone and welcome to UK Foundations. I'm Uthara Adithi and today we'll be seeing frogs pattern. Let's just get it done today. So yeah, frogs. Frogs can live both on land and in fresh water. They can live in land and what type of water? They can live in fresh water and belong to the class Amphibia. Right? This is an animal kingdom as well, where we see class Amphibia and phylum Chordata. The most common species of frogs found in India is Rana tigrina. Okay, yeah. So they do not have a constant body temperature. The body temperature varies with the temperature of the environment. Such animals are called cold-blooded or poikilothermous, right? So the two examples for homeothermous is just the birds and the mammals. The rest of them are mostly poikilothermous only. Poikilothermous is also called as cold-blooded animals, where their body temperature depends on the surrounding temperature, right? Yeah. So you might have also noticed changes in the color of the frogs when they are in grass and on dry land. Okay, so they have the ability to change the color and to hide themselves from their enemies. This is called as camouflaging, right? This protective coloration, there's a protective coloration that they are kind of wearing, which is called mimicry. Okay, so the ability to change their color is called camouflaging, and the color that they bear is called the mimicry. You may also know that frogs are not seen during peak summers and winters. Okay, the reason is probably guessed. It is the reason that they undergo summer sleeping estivation and winter sleep, which is hibernation respectively. During summers or when it's really hot, they undergo estivation, and when it's really cold, they go to hibernation. Morphology. Have you ever touched the skin of a frog? The skin is smooth and it's slippery, right? Due to the presence of mucus. Okay, they keep secreting mucus. Their skin is always maintained in a moist condition because the respiration takes place through the skin and cutaneous respiration and all. Okay, so the skin is always maintained in a moist condition. The color of the dorsal side, if you see, is generally olive green with irregular dark spots. There's a dark irregular spots. Okay, on the dorsal side, this region, it's usually olive green colored, olive green with dark irregular spots. It's not regular, right? See, if you can see these, they are the dark irregular spots. Okay, so now on the ventral side, it's uniformly pale yellow. Pale yellow, you can understand, it's uniform. Okay, the frog never drinks water, but it absorbs it through the skin. Okay, see, because the frog is in water and you can find them on land, it is not that when the frog is thirsty, right, it is going to drink some water. No, it's not going to drink any water. Instead, it's going to take the water from its skin. Okay, it's going to take the water like this into the skin and never through the mouth way. Okay, now the body of a frog is divisible into a head and a trunk region, only two parts. Then what about the neck? There's no neck and there's no tail. Okay, tail is absent. So if you remember amphibians part in animal kingdom, there also they said that a few of the amphibians bear tails but the rest don't. Okay, so the example of the organism that doesn't bear a tail is a frog. Above the mouth you can see a pair of nostrils. This is the mouth region. Above the mouth you can find the nostrils. Eyes are bulged. It's all very evident, right? They are bulged and they're covered by a nictitating membrane that protects them while in water. This membrane that's covering the eyes, okay, the role of it is to protect the frog's eyes while in water, right? It shouldn't affect it by any chance. Okay. On either sides of the eye, a membranous tympanum receives sound signals. Okay, so of course they don't have an external pinna. Okay, they have a membranous tympanum internal ear. Okay, the forelimbs and the hind limbs, both the forelimbs and the hind limbs help in swimming, walking, leaping, and burrowing. The hind limbs end in 5 digits, and they are also larger and much muscular than the forelimbs that end in 4 digits. Okay, you can remember that forelimbs, 4 digits. So of course the hind limbs will be 5 digit. Okay, 5 digit, 1 2 3 4 5, 5 digit, and the forelimbs will be 4 digit. Okay, and then the hind limbs are much larger and muscular. If you can see, if you can compare, this is the forelimbs. Okay, but this is the hind limbs. It's much larger and much muscular because it does most of the work. Okay, we'll use black. Hmm? All right. Yeah. Now, feet have webbed digits. We know that they have webbed digits, right? That help in swimming. Hmm. Frogs exhibit sexual dimorphism. Okay, that means the males and the females are distinct. You can distinguish them. Okay, male frogs can be distinguished by the presence of sound producing vocal sacs and also a copulatory pad on the first digit of the forelimbs, which are absent in the female. Okay, so the vocal sacs are present as well as a copulatory pad on the first digit of the forelimbs. Okay, now moving to the anatomy. Okay, by the way, the male frogs, they bear these vocal sacs. It's basically a sexual call, and also the scopulatory pad which is there, it helps the male frogs to hold the female frogs during the sexual reproduction. Okay, so that's the reason why they have that. Now moving to anatomy, the body cavity of the frogs accommodate different organs such as the digestive, circulatory, respiratory, nervous, excretory, and reproductive systems with well developed structures and functions. To be mentioned here, frogs are like having almost all the system which is well developed. Okay, so digestive system consists of an alimentary canal and the digestive glands, right? The alimentary canal is short. It is short because they are carnivores. Okay, how does this matter? Carnivores is because they feed on meat, right? So digestion of meat is easier, but in the case of herbivores, they feed on grass and like substances. They are made up of cellulose, which is really hard to digest. So the alimentary canal is much larger, so that much longer to be put properly. They're much larger because it takes time to get digested. Okay, and hence the length of the intestine is reduced in the case of carnivores. The mouth opens into the buccal cavity. Okay, that leads to the esophagus through the pharynx. That means there's mouth, pharynx, then esophagus. Okay, esophagus is a speaking about esophagus, it's a short tube that opens into the stomach. Okay, which in turn opens as the intestine, then rectum, and finally opens outside by the cloaca. It's very similar to the human digestive system as well. Okay, liver secretes bile that is stored in gallbladder likely in our body as well. Liver is going to secrete the bile, and that bile is stored in gallbladder. Pancreas is again a digestive gland that produces the pancreatic juice containing digestive enzymes. Remember, bile doesn't have any enzymes, but the pancreatic juice has enzymes. Okay, so food is captured by a bilobed tongue. If you have ever seen that, usually if any insect is flying, um, the frog just sticks its tongue out, captures the insect, and then rolls the tongue back. So that's with the bilobed tongue. Digestion of food takes place by the action of HCl and gastric juices which are secreted from the walls of the stomach. Partially digested food is called as chyme. Okay, so bolus and chyme, if you have done a digestive system, okay, is passed from the stomach to the first part of the small intestine, the duodenum. Okay, the duodenum receives bile from the gallbladder and pancreatic juice. I'll explain through the diagram. Okay, from the pancreas through a common bile duct. Okay, basically these two, this secretions of the gallbladder, basically the bile as well as the pancreatic juices together, they are released through the hepatopancreatic duct. Okay, yeah. The bile emulsifies fat, right? Emulsification of fat, and the pancreatic juices digest the carbohydrates and proteins. They can also digest the fats. Okay, final digestion takes place in the intestine. Digested food is absorbed through the numerous finger-like folds called the in the inner wall of intestine, called the villi and microvilli. They give a brush border appearance. Yeah. So the undigested solid waste moves into the rectum and passes out through the cloaca. Okay, let's see this diagram. Hmm. So the intake of food, esophagus is here, right? The food enters right here. It enters, okay. It reaches the stomach. In the stomach, what is present in the stomach? HCl is present. HCl. Next goes on into the intestine part. In the intestine, it will receive the secretions of the liver, basically from the gallbladder as well as from the pancreas. Right, these are going to act upon it, and then further it passes into the intestine. Okay, then it goes to this rectum and passes out through the cloaca, not through the anus. It's called as a cloaca. Okay, let's just see the other parts as well. Heart. If you can see, the heart is one, two, three, three-chambered heart. Okay, and there's this gallbladder. There's the lungs, fat bodies. Okay, fat bodies, and then what is the role of it during hibernation or during estivation? The food reserves are there. This is the kidneys. There's the ureter, urinary bladder, and all. Okay, there's cloacal aperture as well. Now, moving to the next part, frogs respire on land and in water by two different methods. It's not the same. Two different methods. In water, skin acts as the aquatic respiratory organ, which is a cutaneous respiration. In order to support this cutaneous respiration, how is the skin modified? The skin is always maintained in a moist condition, right? Dissolved oxygen in the water is exchanged through the skin by diffusion. Okay, yeah. On land, if you see the buccal cavity, the skin, and the lungs, all of them are the respiratory organs. In water, it's just the skin. Okay, the respiration by lungs is called as pulmonary respiration. Humans also exhibit the same. The lungs are a pair of elongated pink colored sac like structure found in the present in the upper part of the trunk or the thorax region. Okay, air enters through the nostrils into the buccal cavity and then into the lungs. Okay, so we saw that it had a pair of nostrils, so the air enters through that, it moves into the buccal cavity and then into the lungs. During aestivation and hibernation, again this gaseous exchanges takes place through the skin during hibernation or aestivation. Well, by the way, redo this diagram if I don't think so. So yeah, there's this head region, there's the trunk region. Okay, eyes, bulged eyes. What are they covered with? Nictitating membrane. Yeah. So here there's the forelimbs. Here there are the hind limbs. Okay, they are the external features of the frog. What is this? This is the diagrammatic representation of the internal organs of a frog, showing the complete digestive system. Okay. Well, moving on. The vascular system of frog is well developed closed type. It's a closed type of vascular system. Okay, the frogs are also have lymphatic system. The blood vascular system involves heart, blood, blood vessels and blood. Okay, the lymphatic system on the other hand has lymph nodes and lymph channels it will have. Okay, the heart is a muscular structure present in the upper part of the body cavity. It was visible in that diagram. It had three chambers, two atria and one ventricle. Correct. And it is covered by a membrane called as pericardium. Okay, and a triangular structure called as a sinus venosus joins the right atrium. Okay, this sinus venosus is found on the dorsal side of the heart. Okay, if this is the heart, well, let's just draw the typical normal heart. Or how about going back to the diagram? Yeah, if let's suppose the side that you're seeing is the dorsal side, so it has this type of a triangular structure which is called as the sinus venosus, and on the ventral side you can find conus arteriosus. Okay. Hmm. It receives blood through the major veins called the vena cava. Okay, vena cava brings the blood to the sinus venosus, then this joins the right atrium. The ventricle, if you see, the ventricle opens into a sac like conus arteriosus on the ventral side of the heart. Okay, the blood from the heart is carried to all parts of the body by the arteries arterial system. Okay, from the heart it's carried to different parts through the arteries, and veins collect the blood from different parts of the body, basically the deoxygenated and the oxygenated, we're talking about them. Okay, the veins form the venous system, the arteries form the arterial system. There are special venous connections between the liver and the intestine and kidneys in the lower parts of the body. Okay, see, liver to intestine, kidneys in the lower parts of the body. This is basically including liver is hepatic portal system, with the kidneys is a renal portal system. Right. The blood is composed of, if you speak about the blood, it is composed of plasma and the cells. Okay. The blood cells are RBCs. They have, like us, only RBCs, WBCs, erythrocytes, leukocytes, and then platelets, thrombocytes. Okay. RBCs are nucleated. Our human RBCs nucleated. Mature RBCs do not have nucleus, and they also contain a red colored pigment, namely hemoglobin. You also have hemoglobin. Okay. The lymph is different from blood. Lymph is not same as blood. It lacks a few proteins. Few proteins are not present, and RBCs are totally not present. Okay. The blood carries nutrients, gases, and water to the respective sites during the circulation. The circulation of blood is achieved by the pumping action of the blood of the heart. Right. Pumping action of the heart helps in circulation. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now let's see the excretory system. The elimination of nitrogenous waste is carried out by a well developed excretory organ. See, excretory organ is also well developed. The excretory system consists of a pair of kidneys, ureters, cloaca, and the urinary bladder. Okay. So these are compact, dark, red bean-like structures situated a little posteriorly in the body cavity on both the sides of the vertebral column. Okay, all of these are present in a little posterior part of the body cavity and on both the sides of the vertebral column. Each kidney, if you speak about, is composed of several structural and functional units called as the uriniferous tubules or the nephrons. Okay, so we also have nephrons, but here they're giving another name, uriniferous tubules. Two ureters emerge from the kidneys in the male frogs. Okay, as usual. The ureters acts as urinogenital duct that opens into the cloaca. To be mentioned, this urinogenital duct, okay, is called only for males. In females, there is no urinogenital duct. Basically, what is it? This urinogenital duct is basically going to carry both the sperms as well as the urine. It's a common passage. So it's called as a urinogenital duct. But in females, it's separate. Okay. That opens into the cloaca. In females, the ureters and the oviduct separately open in the cloaca. There's this thin-walled urinary bladder. Remember, thin-walled urinary bladder. Is present ventral to the rectum. Okay. Rectum is that below the rectum you can find the urinary bladder. Okay. uh, Also, this urinary bladder is single. It's not a pair, but it's bilobed. Okay. Yeah. So the frog excretes urea. The frog is gonna excrete urea, and this is a ureotelic animal. Excretory waste are carried by the blood into the kidney where it is separated and excreted. Okay. So that completes the excretory system. Okay, so now let's go to the control and coordination part. The system for control and coordination. This is too dark, right? Okay, right. The system for control and coordination is highly evolved again. It has both the neural system and the endocrine glands. What type of glands? Endocrine glands. It's not exocrine, it's endocrine glands. The chemical coordination of various organs is achieved by the hormones which secrete the endocrine glands. The prominent endocrine glands in frog are pituitary, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, pineal body, pancreatic islets, adrenals, and gonads. To be remembered, no alternatives. The nervous system is organized into, if you speak about the nervous system, see, this was like the endocrine secretions. Now we'll see the nervous system. It has the CNS, the brain, and the spinal cord. It has the PNS, cranial, and the spinal nerves, and the autonomous nervous system, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Okay, and it has a 10 pair of cranial nerves arising from the brain. So let me ask you, the frog has 10 cranial nerves arising from the brain. It's false, it's 10 pairs. Okay, and the CNS contains which two parts? It's the brain and the spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system has cranial and spinal nerves. Okay, and then the autonomic nervous system has sympathetic and parasympathetic. Yeah. Brain is enclosed in a bony structure called the brain box of the cranium, which is basically the skull. Again, the brain is divided into forebrain, midbrain, and the hindbrain. The forebrain includes olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres, and unpaired diencephalon, which is the unpaired structure of the forebrain. It is the diencephalon, okay? And the paired structure is the cerebral hemisphere, okay? Now, the midbrain is characterized by a pair of optic lobes, okay? It has a pair of optic lobes in midbrain. So forebrain had three parts: the olfactory lobes, the diencephalon, as well as the cerebral hemisphere. The midbrain has the optic lobes. And now the hindbrain consists of the cerebellum, medulla oblongata. The medulla oblongata passes out through the foramen of magnum, and continues into the spinal cord, which is enclosed in the vertebral column. It's just, yeah. So again, if you speak about the forebrain, it had three parts: midbrain, one, okay, hindbrain, two. Okay, the forebrain had what? It had the olfactory lobes, paired cerebral hemispheres, and the diencephalon, unpaired diencephalon. Okay, the midbrain had just the pair of optic lobes. Now, the hindbrain has a cerebellum as well as a medulla oblongata. Now, this medulla oblongata, which is from the hindbrain, is going to pass through the foramen magnum, and it's going to continue into the spinal cord, which is enclosed in the vertebral column. Okay. The frog has different types of sense organs, namely the touch, sensory papillae, taste buds, smell, nasal epithelium, vision, eyes, and hearing, tympanum with internal ears. Okay, this is the tympanum. Okay, out of these, eyes and internal ears are well organized, while the rest are just cellular aggregations near nerve endings. Okay, yeah. Which two parts are well organized structures with respect to the sensory organs? It is the eyes and the internal ears. Eyes in a frog are a pair of spherical structures situated in the orbit of the skull. They are simple eyes. Like in cockroach, we saw it had a compound eyes, right? So here we can find simple eyes which just possesses one unit. Okay. External ear is absent, as I said. What is the internal ear? It is the tympanum. Okay. Is it membranous? Yes, it is membranous. Okay. So external ear is absent, only tympanum can be seen externally. The ear is an organ for hearing as well as for balancing equilibrium. In us also, the ear acts as a balancing organ. Okay. Now moving to the frogs, well organized male and the female reproductive systems. Okay. Yeah. The male reproductive system has a pair of yellowish ovoid testes. Okay. What is the color of the testis? Yellow. Okay, what is the shape of it? It's ovoid. Okay, is it paired? Yes, it's paired. It is found there to the upper part of the kidneys by a double fold of peritoneum called mesorchium. Okay, this is very important. Upper part, double fold of peritoneum. This is called as a mesorchium. Okay, there's this vasa efferentia, which is 10 to 12 in number, which is arising from the testis. They enter into the kidneys and open into the bitters canal. Okay, see, look at the passage. There's this kidneys, vasa efferentia, which is 10 to 12 in number, and opens into the bitters canal. Okay, fine. What was the number of cranial nerves? How many pairs? 10 pairs. Okay, so likely you can remember vasa efferentia is 10 to 12 in number. It's not paired. Not paired. Okay. Finally, it communicates with the urinogenital duct that comes out of the kidneys and opens into the cloaca. Again, what is this urinogenital duct? I said before only, right? It is the common passage for both sperms and the urine. The cloaca is, if you speak about the cloaca, it's a small median chamber that is used to pass fecal matter, urine, and sperms to the exterior. See, the common passage for sperms, for the urine, as well as for the fecal matter. Okay, so we'll see the male part here. So there's this vasa efferentia. How many in number? 10 to 12 in number. Correct? Yeah. Now there's this yellowish, yellow color, clear, ovoid, testis, a pair. This side also is there, this side also is there. Adrenal glands, hmm, rectum over here, and there's the urinary bladder. You can see, right? It's bilobed, but it's single. There's the cloaca, there's this cloacal aperture, urinogenital duct, kidneys, fat bodies. Okay, you can see right here. Hmm. What is the double fold of peritoneum? It was, what was it? It was the mesorchium, right? And then the ova, the testis is attached to which part of the kidneys? Is it the upper part or the lower part? It's attached to the upper part. Okay. Now seeing the female reproductive system. The female reproductive system consists of a pair of ovaries. The ovaries are situated near the kidneys, and there is no functional connection with the kidneys. Why they are mentioning this? Because the testis was there to the kidneys, and you could see that the sperms had to pass through the ducts present inside the kidneys, right? A pair of oviduct arising from the ovaries, okay, opens into the cloaca separately. A repeated point, right? A mature female can lay 2,500 to 3,000 ova at a time. Okay, so if you remember this, it reminds me of the Mr. Bean. If you have seen that one episode, right, you can see so many frogs, which were formed just within the next day. Okay, so from the tadpole. Now, fertilization is external. Yeah, there is no internal fertilization, it's just external fertilization and takes place in water. It's in water. Okay, that's why they are found near to the water bodies during the reproduction time. Okay, basically, yeah, development involves a larval stage called the tadpole. So, is it a direct development or an indirect development? It's an indirect development because it's through a tadpole. Okay, tadpole undergoes metamorphosis to form the adult. So there's a hormone required for this. It requires a thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine hormone is required. Okay, frogs are beneficial for mankind because they eat insects. Okay, and they protect the crops. Okay, they eat insects and they can protect the crops. They maintain an ecological balance because they serve as an important link for the food chain and the food web in the ecosystem. Right, this part we would have seen in class 10th as well, where frogs play an important role in the food chain and the food web, right? In some countries, the muscular leg of the frog is used as food by man, okay, because the fat that the frog contains in the muscles is very, like, it provides a lot of energy, so it's usually eaten by people. Okay, yeah. So now female reproductive system, speaking about it, that's the oviduct. Oviduct is there, ovaries, there's the ova inside, ureters. See, you can see separate ureters, and here from the oviduct for the passage of ova, separate. Hmm. Now you can see the cloaca, the cloacal aperture. Here's the urinary bladder. This part you can find, I mean, this region and all is the rectum. Like this, the feces will come out. From here, the ova is gonna come out. From here, the urine is gonna pass out. So it's all through this common cloacal aperture. Okay, so that completes the frog part. So I hope this session was helpful. So definitely spread the key of success, spread knowledge. Thank you.